Yeah, so we are going to continue from where we stopped last time. We started with this our simple projects. Um, we set up the project last time, and today we're going to continue by creating some of the components that we need for the project. So this is the page, or this is the app we want to build. Once again, what is the app all about? It's just like a normal restaurant app that you can use, to attend to the customer. You have the list of all the items or whatever stuff that you are selling at that restaurant. You have the list of them, and the user can tell you, okay, this is what we want, and the attendant can click on any of the item by clicking on the button, which is this add to cart. And once this add to cart button is clicked on, you see that the component is going to change to another form, and this one the form is going to change to is this second one. This is what we are going to have. The first item we have here is what we are going to have by default. But once the attendant click on this add to cart, you see that the item is going to be added to the cart on the right hand side here, along with the name, the quantity, the price, and the total based on this quantity and the price. Because this one will be calculated there based on the quantity. And where are you going to set that quantity? Where you be setting the quantity is this side here. So this is design we are going to have anytime you click on add to cart. So anytime we have the item inside the cart, this is the UI we need to show, and you can pick the number of the quantity that you want for this particular item. And as you can see right now, it's showing 4. So if you check under the cart, you see that that 4 it's there, and the price is $7 here, which is something we're going to use naira for our own. There. Instead of dollar, we're going to use naira. And as you can see, 4 times 7, that's what is giving this 28. And if you have this 5.50, 28.00, and 13 together, you see that it's going to give you this 46.50. So how can we put all these things together so that as you are doing something from this side, everything is getting updated by this side? We are going to see how to do all of them. But first, we need to build our components that we need. And what are the components that we have in this our design? So we have this component here. We're going to have uh the item here. So this is one of the item, and as you can see, this design is what is just being repeated for the other one. So we need to have a component, and we just keep reusing it for every other products that we have there, or the food, or depending on the type of the restaurant this application it's meant for them. For our own, we're going to call it product item. So that's going to be the name of our components there. And apart from this, you see that we have the cart. So if you look at it again on this page, we have the cart box. Let me delete this stuff. Let me move to this side. So if you look at it, this is another component on its own, which is going to be the cart. And inside the cart, as you can see, we have the head, which doesn't need a component, but it's going to be part of the cart. But again, this is another component on its own. Why is it component? If you look at it, it's going to be repeated multiple times, and it's not something that you want to be doing every time that you want to render the content. So we can just build a component for it, and we just keep looping through the items that was added to the cart, and we use the same component again and again. Another component that we have here is this button, because I can see it in another place on the design. So when the user is done with their order, the next thing is for them to confirm the order. And once the attendant click on this confirm order, there is a modal that is going to pop out. And as you can see, down here too, you see that there's another component, and the button is being reused here. So that's the reason why we need to create a component for the button. And apart from that, you see on this modal, there's another set of components here, which is going to display the item too. But this one is not having image, which is like what we have from these cards here. But this one is quite different. The placement is different. So we need to create another component for this under the modal, under the confirm modal. So we're going to name all these things according to what they are doing there. And apart from this, the last component or what we're going to be doing is to have a layout. So we're going to have a layout. And what is going to be our layout? Which is going to be this entire box here. So if you look at it, there's a layout there. And inside this layout, we have two sections there. We have the section for listing out the products, and we have the section for this cart item. So we need to have this layout where we're going to have this container. Inside the container, we're going to have the one for the left that is listing out all the products, and we're going to have another one which is going to be for the cart there. So this is what we need to do, or this is what we're going to start with in today's class. So we start building all these components one by one, and anywhere we reach today for 1 hour, then we're going to stop there and continue from there in the next class. So we're going to start with our layout first, because that's the major thing that we need to have. And again, don't forget, this our application is just a single page. We don't have multiple pages, so we don't need to install anything like React, Router, DOM. But assuming this thing is navigating the user from one place to another one, then you know we need to add our routing there. And if you check under the package.json, the only thing we added there is this our Tailwind, which is what we want to use for the styling, so that we can quickly work on a lot of items instead of wasting time on the CSS part there. You can use normal CSS, is going to work, but I want to use Tailwind to fast track the development there. Again, inside this index, I'm going to change the title. It's not going to be this. It's going to be, let me just call it Fancy Restaurant, like this. So this is what I'm going to, this is what I'm going, why is it giving me error? Spelling from here. Okay. Save, run it, and go back to the page. The title should now be Bounty Restaurant app. Let me add the app in front of it, like this. So the next thing we need to do now is to set up our layout. So I'm going to expand my VS Code, and this is where we're going to do the layout. So instead of us having this particular H1 there, we don't need it. So we're going to have a div here, which is going to be our main layout, and under it we need to apply the class. And I'm going to be telling you some of the Tailwind classes that I want to start using right now. But as we go along with this thing, you see that the same class that we use in this place is what we are going to be used in another places there, and you get used to them there, because it's just normal CSS, just that it's abstracting a lot of things out of the box for us there, like that. So if you look at the design again, what do we want to do? What is the layout? So this is going to be our layout, where we're going to have this container here. As you can see, that is not getting to the edge when you are on this big screen. So when you get to this big screen, we have this extra space. But when you're on a small screen, we only have little padding, because don't forget, we need to deal with both the mobile and the desktop. So this is how it is on the mobile. So the items and the cart, they are placed on top of each other on the mobile, but on the desktop, as you can see, they are placed side by side. So which means we need to apply our CSS in a way that when we're on small screen, the cart will be under, and this one is going to be on top. And you know what we need to use here? That's flex. So we need to display it as flex, and on small screen, the flex direction is going to be column, while on big screen, the flex direction is going to be row. But how can you do something like this using Tailwind? How can you do something like this using Tailwind? So it's quite easy to work with media query and to display anything as flex. So to display any element as flex in Tailwind, what you just need to do is to type flex. So behind the scene, this one now, can you see, is going to generate a class, and that class is going to have this display of flex. Look at what we just need to type to just do this simple. If you want to do it, we have to create a separate CSS file, and we start selecting all these elements one by one. But with Tailwind, just give it a class, because all these classes have been created already by Tailwind. Your own is just to call them. So, and to display element as flex, just call it flex like this. But how do you make your element to be a flex direction of column? It's easier to just use flex cool here. So flex cool is going to create this class, behind the scene and is going to use this property, which is what we want to do. But what if you want to use row? Again too, we have the flex row. You see, Tailwind is quite easy to use. Just mention whatever you want and it's going to generate the class behind the scene. But not that you just keep mentioning them anyhow. All these things, they are on the Tailwind documentation, they're on their side. But I'm giving you all the basic one that you need right now. So to display any element as flex, just call this flex. To make the direction to be the column there, after you display it as flex, just use flex col. If it is row, then instead of col here, it's going to be row. What if you want to apply gap? Assuming you want to apply gap now, again, just mention gap. And in front of it, you put the hash or the dash. Then you have all this number, which are system that are designed by Tailwind. This thing just use gap 2 doesn't mean it's going to be 2 pixels or 2 rm. This thing is corresponding to a particular value that the Tailwind set up in their system. And how do you see it? I've already have all this extension for Tailwind installed. That's why it's bringing out this suggestion for me. If you try it at your own side, you are not going to see all these suggestions until you install the Tailwind extension. So once you just go to your extension and you look for the Tailwind CSS, you are going to see their extension there. And once you install it, once you started using Tailwind, this is the extension that needs to be installed. Tailwind CSS IntelliSense, and is the one that will keep giving you all these suggestions, and it will tell you what each one of the property or whatever CSS you are typing, whatever classes you are using, what they are going to do. If you look at all this value, now gap 0 is the same thing as you just typing gap of this 0 pixels. And I can go over each one of them. Can you see the value? So when you use gap -2, what you're actually doing behind the scene is to create a gap, but the value behind the scene is just this 0.5, which is the same thing as 8 pixels. So the 2 here doesn't mean you are doing 2 rem or 2 pixels. It's just the design system from Tailwind. And this value for every other property that are using the system like this, 2 that is 0.5 here will always be the same thing. For example, when you want to do padding, here we call it P in Tailwind. So when you do P, this is padding. When you want to do margin, it is M, which is for margin. And if you need only margin top, you can use MT. Margin like this, we apply it to all of them. But MT, we only apply it to the top. MB, we apply it to the bottom. MR, we apply it to the right. ML, we apply it to the left. MX, we apply it to left and right. MY, we apply it to top and bottom. It's kind of a simple, and if I use 2 here, the same 0.5 you are getting here is the same margin you will now be getting. As you can see, MY is just you setting the margin top and the margin bottom at the same time. And as you can see, the value used for that too is the same. So it's just a system that Tailwind set up to apply value easily without you applying all this random value. So it's like a system in place that you can use to make sure your design is always following whatever system that you want. And this thing you can change it, and that's why we have this Tailwind config here. As you can see that we added to the colors last time. So the Tailwind color is not matching our design, so we need to add to the colors list. So here, if you need to change any of this value, it's something that you can extend or you replace them. Tailwind make it easier for you to modify any of its value there like that. But we're going to go with the Tailwind system because it's a generic system that is popular there like that. So here we've displayed the stuff as flex and we've used the direction of column. But don't forget, when we're on a desktop, we want these things to be side by side. For example, here I'm going to have 2 sections. The first section here, this is where we're going to have the product. We're going to have the product list later on, which is going to be a component. Apart from this, we're going to have another section, which is going to be our cart like this. So these 2 content here, going back to the page and going to the UI, we should, let me reload. Have I saved? Okay, I've not saved. So let me save the stuff and go back to the screen. Can you see both of them? They are placed on top of each other because that's what we mentioned there. But we don't want it like that when we are on a base screen. We don't want it to be on top of each other like this. We want them to be side by side. So Tailwind actually make it easy for us to change your design based on media query. So you know the way we normally do that, you are going to do at media screen, the main width, whatever stuff. You can do it here too easily on this line. And how do you apply a style based on media query? We can use this MD, which means medium screen, and as you can see, followed by column, then followed by whatever property that you want to set. So here now, I want my flex code, I want my flex now to now be row. So when we're on a medium screen, to look at it, behind the scene, what Tailwind is going to do here is that it will generate a media query. Can you see? It will generate a media query of minimum weight of this particular stuff, and it's going to apply this in there. So instead of you doing it yourself from CSS, because if you want to do it from CSS, you have to come to your file here and you have to type this at media and you type all those numbers. But with Tailwind, we don't need to do that. Just use their system. Anytime you use MD, what this thing means is that whatever stuff you put in front of the column is going to apply it from that screen that you mentioned. MD is just the 768 like that. So what if you need a large screen? Then we have the LG too. So LG, this is for when your screen is 1024. It's something you can change, but this is the default setting in Tailwind. If you don't change it, it will use those systematic way that we normally did in our normal CSS. Now we're going to use 768. We're going to be using 1024. We have 1002. So Tailwind 2 have all these systems. So what did I want to do? I want the gap to be 3. So what I'm doing here is when we are on this last screen. So when you're on this 1024 and above, that's when it's going to apply the gap. But if you are below this screen, then it's not going to apply gap. And again too, any property that you apply without using the media query, it's going to start from small screen and above. So that's how Tailwind work. Whatever property you apply, it always focus on mobile first, and the mobile, it will not scale it up. So if you now want to change anything, when you get to a bigger screen, you can mention the screen that you want the style to change from. So we have this MD, which is for the medium, and what is medium for Tailwind is just this 768 and above. So greater or equals to 768, that's the medium, and that's where it's going to apply the stuff. So for the large, this is going to be large, and this one is greater or equals to 1024 like this. Another one that we have is XL here. You can use XL, which is 1280. So XL, which is extra large. So extra large like this, and it's a screen from this 1280. So if you want to do anything from this screen and above, then you can use XL. It doesn't stop there. We have 2XL too, or you can set up your own media query if you want. If you don't like the Tailwind system, you can set your own. As you can see, this is the 2XL and so forth like that. So if you need to get to that place, most of the design we have now, we are going to stop at this XL. That's the media query we are going to stop, because we know that from this screen and above, that's when it's going to be applying the stuff like that. So we have this 2XL, and you can change it to your own number under this Tailwind that I'm going to be explaining that one later on. But for now, we are going to use the Tailwind system like this. We are going to use Tailwind system in this place. We're going to use Tailwind system. So anytime I mention MD and I'm doing something in front of it, what I'm saying there is that whatever I want to do there is going to apply it from this screen and above. Anytime you use LG, it's going to apply property from this screen and above. Anytime you mention SL, it's going to apply from this screen and above, and so forth like that. If you want to do this thing with your normal CSS now, it's going to take you a lot of line to just do the simple stuff that we have on this one line here, because you have to do separate selector before it works. You have to use media query to apply this one. Again too, you have to use another media query to apply this one. But now we have everything on one line, and this is the power of Tailwind to simplify the CSS for us there like that. So now save this one, go back to the screen. You see that when we're on a big screen, can you see they are going to be side by side? But now if you go to a small screen, you see that they are going to be on top of each other. So 768 and above, be side by side. But once you are less than that, then move them on top of each other, because there is no screen based on the design that we are trying to work on here. So on small screen, they are going to be placed on top of each other like this. And when it is on a big screen, then it's going to be side by side. So another thing that we have here is that you can see the width of this stuff is not going more than around that 200. So how can you change your width of the element? So in Tailwind, we have W, then W followed by hyphen and followed by the number that you want to use. As you can see, W24 is the same thing as you using width of 6 rem. So if I pick 24 here, what does it mean? It's going to generate this CSS behind the scene, and the value there is going to be this width of 6 rem, which is this 96 pixels, which is really small. But what if the Tailwind doesn't have the value that I want to use? Because Tailwind have some predefined value that you might want to use, which will make it kind of easier for you there. But what if it doesn't have the value that you want to use? So you can put your own defined value inside square bracket. So whatever value you put inside this square bracket, Tailwind is going to generate it on the fly. For example, here now, I want the width to be 1002 or 100 or 280 pixels like this. So by the time you click on it, can you see Tailwind is going to generate the value on the fly. So if Tailwind doesn't have the value, it can help you to generate the value on the fly. To generate the value, just use the square bracket and you pass whatever value that you want. But most of the time, Tailwind already have the value that you want to use. If you are following their system, the design that you're working on follow their system, they would have already have the value. But there's some time you need to go outside of that system to impute your own value there like that. So Tailwind make it easier for us to work with our CSS easily without doing too much of work. So let me reduce this stuff so that we can see what we are doing along the way there. So yeah, this is what we want. We want the layout, which is what we've started with already. And I want this thing to span to next line. So view word wrap so that it can move the next CSS to next line. So what do we want to do here? What we want to do is that we want the width to be full. W full is just you saying width of 100%. So it's just width 100% like this. But once we get to a large screen, so once we get to extra large, we need extra. Once we get to a large screen, what do we want to do? So we want to have a max width. So max W here means max width. Where do you want to stop your width? Here. So I don't want my width to go more than, or let me use XL. I think XL should be better. So which is 1280. So max width here now. So our max width is going to be 1200 pixels like this. So once we get to this screen, we don't want our box to keep going wide and wide there, because if you look at the design at the particular stop, it stop there. So it stop, as you can see here, we still have some extra space at the edge, and the thing stop at this particular place, and that's what we are trying to do here. So let me apply background so that you can see what is going on. So to apply background, you use BG, then followed by the color you want to use. This color that you set up, you mention it. If it is Tailwind on 2, you mention it. But right now I'm going to use the Tailwind, and one of the Tailwind color is this amber here. So I'm going to use this 500 for now. It's just for you to see where the container stop. As you can see here, when we're on small screen, it's going to be 100%. But once we enter a big screen, right now the screen that I'm using to teach you is not that really big. So as you can see, it stopped at this 1000 whatever stop. Assuming I'm using the other laptop now, you'll have seen that there is extra space left. So can you see now? Once you enter that 1000 stop, 1280, it will stop at 1200 like this. This screen is 1300, as you can see now, and we say we want to stop at 1200. So that's why it stopped here. But don't forget, it's supposed to be center. And what can we do to make it to be center? We just need to use margin inline auto. So anytime you limit a width and you want to distribute that space between left and right, what you can do, if you cannot display its parent as flex, is to use margin inline auto. And how do you apply margin here? I mentioned it that time, is by using M. But we only want to apply it on the left and right, so we can use X here. X means left and right. Y means top and bottom. B means normal bottom. This is the normal top and so forth. But what I need here is MX auto like this. And what it's going to do is going to generate margin left and margin right auto like that. And that's what you can do. And once it's saved, as you can see, it will distribute that space between left and right. But you are not going to see this stuff on small screen, because the only time it will happen is when we are on this extra large. And as you can see, is when you have minimum of 1280, that's when it's going to do the limit. But if it's not up to that, the width is going to be full by default. So if I enter this responsive mode again, you see that once we have a screen less than that 1280, what it's going to do is to use the normal 100%. What's going on? My page, let me reload. Okay, Control Shift I, bring out my DevTools. All right, so now as you can see, the screen, if the screen is on to that, it will take 100%. But one screen is now more than 1280, you see that it will limit the width to that 1200 that we mentioned here, because we don't just want this thing to keep expanding anyhow like that. So I'm going to remove this background because it's not having any background. It's just for you to see what is going on there. But if I don't put the background, as you can see, you might not quickly see what is going on that page. So what do we need to do here? So if you look at this container, there is a gap in between them. So if you look at this container, there is a gap in between the items that we have there. So the left, so we have this gap around this container here and the container for the cart. So we need to add gap. So how do you add gap in Tailwind? So to apply gap, don't forget, you just use this gap, then followed by iPhone, and you pick the system that you want to use. So I want to use 1REM. So 1REM in Tailwind is just this gap 4 here. So when you use gap 4 behind the scene, it's going to generate a gap of 1REM. How do I know that 4 is 1REM? It's because I'm used to Tailwind. And once you get used to Tailwind 2, you see that all this number, you already know what they are doing. And it's not all of them that I put in my head. I have to start scrolling down to check some of them sometime. But I know that this 4 is always 1REM because I used to use it a lot. But you can't put everything in your head. That's why you have the Tailwind IntelliSense to show you what this thing is going to generate behind the scene there. So I want to have a gap of 1REM in between each one of them. And as you can see now, the cart has been separated from this one. But I don't want it to be like this. On small screen, I want it to use gap 8 like this. So on small screen, which is going to be 2REM. So when we're on small screen, we want a lot of space in between them. But when we now get to a big screen or a large screen or a medium there, then we want the gap to be around that 5. And this is 1 point something like that. Yeah, 1.25. So when we're on a big screen, the gap is just going to be simple, just small. But when you're on a small screen, don't forget, whatever CSS you apply without mentioning the query there, it will start from mobile. But when you mention the query, then it will start from that query number and above. And that's how Tailwind works, which simplifies the process. So as you can see now, on mobile, we have a lot of space. But once we get to tablet, it's just going to be a little space of that 1.25 REM that we pass into it like that. So this is how this thing works. So we just finished our layout. But there's another thing that is missing, the background. If you look at the entire background of the app, it's not really white. It is this particular light gray or light red that we already set up in our Tailwind. Don't forget, we set up these rows where we set up the 50, 100, 300, 400, 500, and this 900. And we need to use one of them here for the background. And where are we going to apply the background? We want to apply it on the body directly. So how do we change the body? We can do it from this, our index.css. Just like the way we change this HTML, we can change the body too. But don't forget, it's not only body that is inside that HTML. So if you open the HTML, you see that we have body, we now have this div that have root. So we need to change the two of them. We need to make sure that this body and this div, they are of the same height and they are of the same width, because this is where all your content are going to be placed. This is where React is going to place the content. So you need to make sure that the height of this element is up to the body. The width too is up to the body, or they have the same thing there like that. So we're going to target the two of them. And how do we target them? We've already targeted the body. The only thing we just need to do is to target that one, because it's having this ID root. And that's why I'm selecting based on this ID that I don't need to be explaining, because this one already like that. So now what do we need to do? we need to apply Tailwind because I don't want to do any. I can do CSS myself by just saying width is 100% like this. It will work, but I don't want to use my CSS. I don't want to type anything CSS. I want to use Tailwind. So how do you use Tailwind inside CSS file? You can see here we are using it on our element through the class. So how do we do the same thing too inside CSS? Tailwind to allow you to apply its properties. So to apply, what you do is to use this at apply. Then anything that follows it is Tailwind class. Whatever you put after it is all about Tailwind. I like that. This apply must be there. Then after apply, then you have all the Tailwind properties that you want, or whatever CSS utilities class you want to apply. So here we want the width to be full. We want the H to be screen. What is H screen? That's this normal stuff we normally do, which is this height. Or I don't want it to be H screen. I want it to have a mean H. And what is mean H? Don't forget, this is minimum height of 100 VH that we normally do with our body there. So which other thing we need to use? We need to apply the background. And the background is going to be using this, our rows. And the rows that are supposed to be there, I think, is this 50. I know this is Tailwind rows. It should be our own rows. App rows. Yeah. So app rows, let me try this 100 and let's see. Is the 100 that is using? Save it. Yeah, it has changed, but it's close, like it looks like it's still white, but technically it's not white. Let me use a bigger number so that you can see that it's not actually white. We have row 600. Let me bring out all the other rows. Yeah, we have this rows 900. So save it, and once this thing is done, can you see that it's actually applying it? But because that rows, it's kind of close to white, which is what we need to use. So let me try this 300. And I don't think it can be this 300. Yeah, it can be 300. So it should be that 100. So the background is going to be this rows 100. And now you see that everything covers up the way we want it to be. So again, inside this place, if you look at it, we don't have padding at all on small screen. Everything just jam-packed together. We don't want this thing to be like that. So we need to apply padding around everything. And how do you apply padding? In Tailwind, you use P to apply padding, then followed by, you see, it's the same pattern that all of them follow. When you are dealing with gap, you have icon, then followed by number. So here too, on small screen, I want my padding to just be 1 rem, which is going to be this P4. And what is it going to do? It will generate padding of 1 rem. And as you can see now, we have that space around the box. Even on this screen too, it's still going to generate it. But if you don't need it on this screen, what you can do is to turn it off. So here now, once we get to this extra large, then we know that the space is there, so P is going to be 0. So which means on the base screen from this extra large, which is this 1280, we don't want any padding. But anything below that, then the padding is going to be whatever I apply here, which is this 16 pixels. That means 1 rem. And as you can see on base screen, there is no more padding. But this is bad, because I can see on the base screen too, I see some extra padding at the top and bottom. So we can actually apply padding top and bottom on the base screen instead of so here we can do it again, XL, then PY. As you can see, this one is for top and bottom, and this one is going to be maybe around this 8. So on this screen, top and bottom padding is going to be this 8 rem, or is going to be this 2 rem there like that. But as you can see, I'm doing this thing again and again just to apply some property for this particular screen and above. So from 1280 and above, the padding by default, or I can just use PX, is going to be 0. That means left and right to be 0, while top and bottom is going to be 8. And that's what I'm doing. So top and bottom here will be 8, while the left and right will be 0, because we already have the space. Because this thing is limited to 1200. So that space is there already. So there is no need of us adding that extra space. But if you still want to add it, we can just remove this line. So which means it will still have that padding on base screen too, but the top and bottom is going to be 8. And as you can see that this thing shifted a little bit to the right side, because it's still having that padding on left and right, but the top and bottom has been changed from 4 to 8, because on small screen everything is 1 rem. But once we get to this extra large screen, the top and bottom will now change to 2 rem. So on small screen it is 1 rem on top and bottom, but once we get to that bigger screen, then it's going to be the other value that we place here. And once we get to a small screen, as you can see, it's going down, because that media query is here. Once it's less than 768, this is what we want. And if it is from that 768 and above, then it's going to place them side by side. So the other thing that we want to do here now is to create a component for this our product list and to create a component for this our carts here. So we need to create a component for them. I'm just using this one as demo, but we need to create a component from them. So what are the components we need? We need to have a component for the cards, and we need to have component for this list. So this is what I'm calling the product list. Everything here is the product list, while everything here is the cards. So we need to have this component. That means we need to put them in their own file, and we focus on each one of them at a time. So we need to create the component, and we already have this folder down here. So what we just need to do is to create the file that we need. So the first one we need is the product list. So this is the one that is going to list all the products. So this one is going to be JSX like that. So REFCE to generate our component, to remove this stops import, we don't need it, then save it. And in our app now, in place of this one, what we can do is to call that component. So here we're going to have this our product list. So import it, save it, and we should still have the same thing. There shouldn't be any different because that's the text that is there. For now, I can actually put some text there, and you see that it's going to show because it's rendering this component. Again, we need to do it for the cards too. So inside our component, we generate the file, and here we're going to call it cards, then JSX. Then here we're going to have this RAFCE, which is going to generate the component. Remove this one, save, go back to that place, remove this one too, and import the cards. So now we can focus on each one of them at a time, and we won't be bothered with the other one. So we need to start with this our products list. So that's what we're going to start with. So I'm going to start with the product list. And under the product list, what do we need to do? So if you look at it, under the product list, this is what we need to do there. So we have this title section. As you can see, we have the title section. Then after the title, we have the list here. So we now have the list container. Then inside the list container, we have each one of the list items. So this is one of the each one of the list item that we need to work on there. So let's start from the header. So what do we have inside the header? We have that desert. So inside this place, I'm going to change this one to section like this. So move this one down. Even this app, I'm going to change it to main. It's not a must, but I'm going to change it to main like this. And inside the product list, I will have section. Inside the card too, I will change it to section. You can use div, it will work, but I just want to use the semantic tag to represent all these things. So inside this place, we are going to have the header. Inside the header, we are going to have our H1. And inside the H1, what do we have here? We have the title. Where do we get all the text from? It's already been given to us, so you can go and copy it there, or you just apply the stuff directly from here. So let me close the sidebar, move this into one side so that we can see the two of them. And now we have the desert like this, or instead of calling it desert, we can just call it Africana food, which we know that this thing is not looking like Africana food at all, but we are using our own text like this. So we have this Africana foods as the title, and after that, this is where we're now going to have our list. So we're going to have a div, and inside this div, we're going to have the products like this. So the product items, so the list of the product item or the food or whatever stuff you want to call it. So save this item, go back to the screen, you see that we have the text, but the text is not looking like what we have here. You see that it's not bold at all. So we need to apply Tailwind, because by default, Tailwind already removed all the style that you have on your element. It has already removed all the style. So you need to bring them back by start applying your classes out there. So we're going to start from this section, which I'm going to give this class like this. So class. Then inside the class, let me use BG red 500 so that you can see what is going on the page. So as you can see, this is it here. But we need to have a padding. Do we need padding for now? I don't think so. So what we need to do is to display it as flex. By now, you know how to display as flex. just mention flex, and we want them to be on top of each other, not side by side, because now if you display flex, it's going to be row by default. So we need to use flex pole to move them on top of each other. And again, we need to use gap of around that 8, which is 2 rem. 4 is 1 rem, 8 is 2 rem, like this. So once we save, as you can see, we have this gap in between them like that. So inside the header, we have this h1. So we need to apply some classes on it. One of the stuff we need to apply there is that to make this text to be big, and again, we want it to be bold. So to make your text to be big, you can use this text property. So here, you can use what is there before the space. This is what is there, which is 16 pixels. All the text by default in Tailwind, they have 16 pixels. But you can check them by increasing it to this small, or you can change it to small. It's going to make the text tiny, which is 14 pixels. But this is not what we want. You can use the large to make your text to be 18 pixels. So when you use large, it is 18 pixels. So you can use XL, which is 20 pixels. How do I know already saying? It's showing already in the Tailwind. So all this, can you see them? These are the value that you can use. This is the Tailwind predefined value. And it's set up everything for you. So this is 3XL, which is 30 pixels. 4XL is 36 pixels. 5XL is 48 pixels. 6XL is 60 pixels. And as you can see, other one. And if none of this one is there, or if they are not the value you want, you can open your square bracket and you type the value that you want to use. But yeah, I'm going to go with this 4XL like this, which is going to make the text bigger in this way. But don't forget, we are working on both the desktop and the mobile. So if I switch back to the mobile, is it big? I don't think it's that really big, but I want to use 3XL on small screen. So on small screen, we want to use 3XL, but once we get to a large screen, we want the text to now be 4XL. And again, I think it's okay like that. So once we get to large screen, which is 768, the text is going to be 4XL. But when you're on a small screen, it will be 30 pixels. So it will be 30 pixels on small screen. But once we get to a bigger screen, it's going to be 36. Or let me even use 5, save, which is going to be 40. What is that? Yeah, 48. So save. On big screen, the text is going to be 48. And on small screen, then it's going to be 36, like this. So what else do we need to do? The text is supposed to be bold. So how do you bold text in Tailwind? To bold text or to change your font, you are going to use the font property. And as you can see here, you can make your text to be semi-bold, medium, normal, light, extra thin, extra bold, or black. But I think bold should be, which is going to generate font weight of 700. That's just what it's going to do behind the scene. So now our text should be thick compared to what we had before. And now we're going to have something like this. So we call our own Africana food, but their own is that's that there like that. So our own, we are using Africana food. So now we have the title. The other thing we need to work on now is these products that we need to work on. But in order for us to be able to work on the product, don't forget, we need to work on the individual item. So we need to work on this component first. And what is this component going to do? As you can see here, it's going to receive the image that you want to display. It's going to receive the title, or let's call it category. Let me see what is there. So everything that we need is inside this data.json. As you can see, it's going to receive the image. Where we have the image, we have the thumbnail. So where is the thumbnail going to be used? Thumbnail is going to be used on this place here. So this is the thumbnail. So this is where we are going to use thumbnail. So the image that is sent, the product that is sent to us, it has all this property under it, the image. Under the image, we have the thumbnail, we have the mobile, we have the tablet, and we have the desktop. So these are different images that you need to display based on the screen and where you want to use it. So on small screen, we need to pick the image under the mobile. On tablet, we need to pick this image. On desktop, we need to use this image so that our design tool can look like what is there. Because if you look at it on small screen, the image is actually different. Like it's having more width compared to the height. But when you're on a big screen, as you can see, it is square. So on big screen, it is square, but on small screen, it is not, like a rectangular box there. So we need to switch the image based on the screen that we are working on. And we are going to be receiving all these items one by one. So where we're going to receive the image, we're going to receive the name, we're going to receive the category, and we're going to receive the price. So where are we going to display the category? So let me bring the image again. Let me reduce it. Go to the desktop one. So for every product, we are going to have, let me bring out my, so for every product, you are going to have the image, but you know the image is depending on the screen. Again, we are going to have the price. So this is what we are going to be displaying the stuff. For the category, this is it here. And for the name, this is it here. So all this thing, we are going to receive it as a prop inside this, our component. And we are going to use each one of these value in the appropriate place. And as you can see, we did not receive any information about this one. And we are the one that is going to construct all these things later on, because this add to cart will change to this design when you've already added it to the cart. If you don't have it in the cart, this is what it's going to show. But if you have it in the cart, this is what it's going to show, which is going to be 1 by default. And if you take it to 0, then it will remove it from the cart. How do we do all this thing? We are going to focus on all those one when we are done with our component. But we need to build the component first before we start adding all the functionality. So what we need to do now is to build that component, this single component. Then once we are done building that component, then we render the stuff inside this place. And how do we get the stuff that we want to render? Look at it, we already have the data here. So we can copy this data, then we look through it inside this product list, and we are going to call this component. So first, let me create the component so that we can call it. So here we're going to create the component, which is going to be the product item. So we are going to call it product item, which is each one of these boxes .jsx like this. So create the components RAFCE to generate our functional components, then call it like save it, come back into this place. Now we need to look through each one of the products that we have. So let me close all these CSS, the cards that we don't need right now. Those ones are going to be next class stuff. App 2, I don't need it right now. Tailwind, I don't need it. These are the only three things that I need. So this data that we have here, we need to import it inside this our product list, and we are going to look through it. As you can see, it's array. Then for each one of them, we just send the detail down into our product item like that. So how do we import the stuff? So at the top here, we can import our data. So from here, import products like this. So I'm going to call it product. Then from where? So we need to go to where we can see this file. So we need to go back. Then after going back, we're going to see the asset. Inside the asset, as you can see, we have access to this product, which is something that I can console log out so that you see that we're actually getting the data. So you can import data from JSON. And this thing is going to handle it for what? The fit. The Vit app that we're using is going to do the necessary import for us. And as you can see, we have 9 items. So these are them. So we have 9. So we need to look through this item now and display the product item for each one of them. So we need to look through it and display the product item. So how do we look? You know that one already. You know that one already. So what we need to do here is to call this our product like this, then map through each one of them. We're going to get the product, and whatever product we are getting back here, we just need to return our component. And what is the component? Which is going to be the product. So it's going to be product item. So this product item, what do we need to pass into it? First of all, we need to use key. So what is going to be the key? Is going to be the product, then whatever the name that we have on. As you can see, we have the category, the image, the name, and the price. So we want to use the name as the key. Don't forget, when you are doing list rendering, you need to apply a key so the React can differentiate each one of them. Then which other thing do we need to pass? So we need to pass every other thing that we have left in the product. So every other thing that is in the product, we are sending it down. This is spread now. What it's going to do is that everything that is inside the product, it will send it down into this place. And we can now receive them. And what are we going to receive? So here, we are going to receive the image. We are going to receive the name. We are going to receive the category, because we are spreading everything. So we spread everything into this product. And once we spread it, as you can see, we are going to receive the image, the name, the category, and the price are there. So we're going to receive the price too. So for example, here now, I can just display the name. So down here, I will just quickly use H1. This is going to be the name. So we are going to have the name of the product in front of it, and we're going to have the price. And beside this thing, I'm going to have the naira. So to generate the naira, we have this person and this hash 8358 like this. I still remember the code for naira. So now save this stuff, go back to the screen, and we have this product item, but I've not saved it. And once this thing is saved, can you see? So we are receiving each one of them along with the particular price. But I don't like this price because it's not reflecting the naira. So I'm going to update the stuff. So for this one, it's going to be 6,000 like this. So it's going to be 6,000. So it's going to be 6,000. So for this one, it's going to be 7,200. For this one, is going to be 2,800 like this. For this one, is going to be 5,500. For this one, is going to be 4,750 like this. For this one, is going to be 5,200. This one is going to be 5,750. For this one, is going to be 5,425, 5,420. And for this one, is going to be 6,500, just to reflect our own money instead of the dollar. So now, as you can see on the screen, the value has been updated. The value has been updated. First, yeah. So we have all this. We are going to format all this price data because this is on the UI. So I'm just showing it that we are actually receiving the data that we want to work with it. So we'll receive all the data that we have inside this data.json there, and we are putting everything on the screen by looping through it, and we send down the details into the component. So the component will receive the image, the price, category, and the name of the product. So the next thing we need to do now is to make sure that the stuff actually display the way it's supposed to be. So on small screen, as you can see here, it's going to be placed on top of each other like this. But on a big screen, they're supposed to have this. So on tablet, it will be 2 2. Then on big screen, it will be 3 3 like this. So we need to apply grid system into it like this. So how do you apply grid in Tailwind? It's actually easy to apply Tailwind just like the way we use flex to display this thing as a flex there. So let's work on that. So let me bring out this thing again, and this div now we need to style it. So class name by default is going to be grid, which means it's going to display as grid. I know by default it will place everything on top of each other. The next thing we need to do is to apply gap, which I'm going to use around that a 2rm there like that. As you can see, for each one of them, it's going to space them like this. And once it's done, but once we get to this particular tablet, as you can see, we have a lot of space. So if you check the original design on tablet, you see that the product list is actually taking a lot of space compared to the cart. So the cart is supposed to come to this side so that this particular side can take the other space that is left in the parent. Look at it. The parent have a lot of space inside it. So we need to talk to this container to take the remaining space that is left inside its parent. And how do we do that? Now, what we normally do is to use flex one, because why are we using flex one? Because the parent is displayed as flex. So once we use flex one, it will take the remaining space that is left in a parent. And here it's quite easy with Tailwind. Just use the same flex one like this, and you say that the cart will always take the remaining space. The product list will always take the remaining space that is left in the container there like that. And we're going to make sure that this one, the cart, it actually have its own space. I don't know the size, we just guess for the size. But assuming we are working with Figma now, we see all the size that we are supposed to use there. But for now, I will just go to that cart. What I will do is that on small screen, so we are going to have this class name. So on small screen, the weight is going to be full because we know that it is placed under this container there. So they won't be side by side on small screen. And as you can see here, but we don't want it to happen like this on big screen. So on medium screen, what do we want to do? On medium screen, even this one too that we apply flex of one, we don't just want to apply it like this. We want it to apply on medium screen. So that's when it's going to do it. Because once we go to mobile screen, as you can see, they already covered up the entire stuff. So there's no need of doing something like that. And that's why I give this card to width of 100% by default on small screen. Let me use BG amber like this, 500, so that we can see what is going on. As you can see on small screen, it's going to cover out the entire screen like that. Because once we get to bigger screen, we don't want it to be like this. It's taking more than what it's supposed to take. So on medium screen, we want the weight to be, I don't know, but I will just use one value like that. Let me see, this 80 is not too much. This is 320. This 320 not too much. Let me see. Yeah, I think it's okay, but let me use 70. Just use random value because I can't just say that's the value. So this is yeah, 288. This 288 is where's the other 764? This one should be what? Yeah, 256. Let me see this one. I think this one should be okay. Yeah. So on tablet, as you can see now, this one is going to take the remaining space because this one has limited its own weight. And once we go to a bigger screen, we don't want to, can you see that it's too small on that screen? So we need to change the style to when we enter the last screen. On medium screen, this is what we want. But once we enter the last screen, then the width too should change. And the width should be around that 80 like this. And once you save, then we should have, as you can see, on the 768 is using that 256. But once we get to 1024, then it's going to use this value. But right now, it's not even up to that 1024 like that because it's emulating 70 something percent there. So it's not. And again, I think it's okay like this. Yeah, it's actually okay like this. And I don't want everything to keep coming down like this on big screen. So I want them to stop in their container. So where's that our app? We need to make sure that everything starts at the top. So let me go back to the app. And inside this app, on the medium screen, so MD, we want everything to align to the top. So we want it to align to the top. What we can just say that, when you want to align in CSS, what you use here is justify content or align item. So how do you do the same thing here? So to align item, you just use items. So and start mean align item flex start. That's what you're just going to do. If you want to justify, you just use the same justify. So once you mention justify, as you can see, you see all those values. Justify between, space between, this is justify between. Space around, this is justify around, and so forth like that. But the one we need now is just the items, which is align items. So item is what, once you mention item, then the stuff that is in front of it, you add it to it, and it's going to generate the stuff. And once it's done, as you can see, because we don't want this one to keep growing anyhow because of the design that we have. As you can see that this one stop here. It's not growing with this other content. But if we don't do it, it will always grow with this one if you give it the background later on there. So let me close all this one. We don't need them. We only need this product item, and we start working on the stuff there. So let me move this into one side so that we have enough room to see the stuff. Yeah, so I think, or let me expand it more. I'm not focusing on the cards right now. We're really focusing on the item. So this item is not having any background. It's just for you to see what is going on. That's why I put the background. But now that I don't need it again, so let me remove the background so that we can focus on the content, which is the product item. And what is happening for each one of the items. So this is what we want to work on. Each one of these items here. And don't forget, this design, this is the desktop one, and we have the mobile one. The difference between desktop and mobile is just this image, the height of the image. And that's the only thing that is different. Every other thing remains the same. So the difference is just the box that we have there. So we'll just be looking at this desktop for now, but I know that the height of this box is not going to be like that. So what do we need to do? Yeah, so where's my marker? Let me bring my marker back. So delete this and bring out this box. So this is what we need to do. This our product item is going to be this. So inside this product item, as you can see, there are different sections there. We have the container for the image. So we have the container for this image like this. Then after that, we have the container for the content. So this is the layout that we need to have. And inside the container for the image, as you can see, we have this image inside it, which is not taking 100% of its parents, like that. And again, we have this box, which is going to change too. So we need to create the component for this add to cart and this one later on there. But for now, let's deal with the layout that we need to work with it. So I don't need this one like this. I don't need this H1. It's just for us to see that we are receiving the details. So here we're going to have our class name like this, which is going to be flex full like this, the gap. And what am I doing? The outer one, it's having this inner one. So it's having the image container and the content container. So this is the one that is wrapping them. So I'm applying this gap of 4 like this, which is going to space them. And inside this stuff, we're going to have the div. This is going to be the image container like this. And for the down one, we are going to have the content container. And it's going to place the two of them on top of each other. So save, go back to the screen, and we should have them placed on top of each other. As you can see, we have the image container, the content container are like that, and there's a gap in between them. But right now, we need to continue working on it. So inside this one is simple. The content one is simple. So let's enter it. At the top, we have this span to display our category. So we need to display the category at the top of it. Then after that, I'm going to be using the H3, which we are going to display the name of the stuff. And after that, we're going to have our price, which I'm going to be using the P tag. And again, I will be using my Naira again. So hash, this thing has changed to UK again. Let me bring it back to US keyboard. All right, so hash, then A358 to give us the Naira symbol. Then beside it, we're going to display our price. But the price that we want to display is not going to look nice on the screen. You know, when you are dealing with price, your price supposed to have comma there. So how do we do that comma? It's actually easy to do a comma in JavaScript these days. So JavaScript actually have this functionality we can use, and that functionality is this new international here. So this international can help you to format your number in different formats based on the word or based on the country that you want to use your application. Since we are in Nigeria, we know that we use comma, but you know, if you go to the other country, what they use is dot. Or some of them, the way they place their comma is not even making sense to us here, because we separated by 1,000, but their own, I don't know how they do this stuff. Like India now, the way they do their comma is kind of like crazy. So, but this can help us to format it based on the country that you want. And you know that we are using US formatting there, like that. So by default, this thing is going to give you the US stuff, and we can do, this is what we need, which is this number format. So under this number format, you can pass the locally inside it, and the locally you pass is what is going to use to format. But by default, you're using US, which is what we are using too. So we don't need to do anything. What we just need to do is to call this format, and whatever you pass, the number you pass to it is going to format it for you. If you pass 400, there's no need of formatting 400, because 400 is 400. But now if I pass 4,000 to the stuff, can you see it's going to format it by 1,000 like this, and this is what we want. So we can now use this new international there, and you pass the price. And once we pass it, then it's going to format this 6,000 the way it's supposed to be. The same thing, this 7.2, this 2,800, 5,500, and so forth like that. It's going to format each one of them. So we don't just pass the price directly like this. We use our new international, then dot number format like this. Then from there, we call our format on it, and we pass the price. And once this thing is done, you see that it's going to format the stuff once it's saved like this. Like, can you see now? So all the number has been formatted easily without us doing anything. But if you want to do some setting here, you can actually pass your this thing into it like that. You can pass the locally that you want like that. So, and it's going to do some things that we want, and a lot of other things that you want to set, like the region, the case force, the calendar, whatever setting you want, how you want your number to be formatted. But it's not just formatting money, it's formatting number in general. So but we want to use it to format the stuff basic like this. So and that's the default thing it's going to do because we are using US stuff, and it's going to be default to that. So now we have our price formatted on the screen. So we are done with this the other side for content, but we are not done with the styling needs to be there. But I will just skip that one for now, or let us do it. So let me bring it out. So this is what we have. So as you can see, there is a space in between each one of them. So I'm going to display it as flex pole, because I want them to be on top of each other. Gap is going to be this around 2, which is 0 point something, yeah, 0.5, like that. So save it and go back to the screen. You should see a space in between each one of the item there. So the other thing we need to do is to style this. So this is the color we need to use on this category. So class name, like this. We've set up all this our color, which is this thing should be text. So to change the color, mention text followed by the color that you want to apply, and the color is going to be this app rose. The app rose. Let me see. Like this. Yeah, it's close to it, but let me check our color and see. I think this one should do for now. I'll just go with this. So again, for this one, as you can see, the color is kind of the text is bold. So to apply bold text, what we need to use is to apply this font bold, like this, just like what we did before for the title, and it's going to make the text to be bold like that. So for the price, the color is that rose. So the color is rose, and I think it's using that rose. So let me apply the class name. So let me apply the class name. Let me apply the class name. So here it should be text, then app rows. Let me see. Yeah, it should be this app red. That's what is here. So save it, and now we should. So something is wrong with my element. One of the element is not closed correctly. So bring this in back. I don't know why it added that nonsense at the end. So save everything, and we should have the color, but it is bold. So the text is bold a little bit, not that really bold, it's semi-bold. So font semi-bold, but don't forget it will only apply the same if you have that font weight. So save it, and I think with the font we are using actually have it. Yeah, you can see the text is now bold, like that. But I think this gap is really much in between them. So the gap 2 that I'm using, I will convert it to gap 1, which is going to be this 0.25, and save it. The space shouldn't be more like this. So this section is done. The other one that I have too much of problem here is this image container, because we need to switch the image based on the screen that you are working on. Don't forget, the image that is sent to us is not just one image, it is a 4 image. So we have the one for the thumbnail, the one that will be used when we have the modal later on, and for the other 3 we have it for this box based on whether we're on tablet or mobile or desktop there. So I'm going to bring all of them in so that you can see them. So here we're going to have the image wrapper. So I'm going to have another div here. So this is going, let me give it a class so that you can see what is going on. So this one, BG red 500. So this is the image container like this, or let's just call it wrapper. So and inside this place, so class name like this. So W is going to be full, H like this. What's the height? Yes, should just be maybe, I don't know, but for now we just use 28 like that. And inside this place, that's where we're going to have all our images. There are 3. There's one for desktop, there is one for mobile, and there is one for this. As you can see, all of them, they are here. So we have the one for the mobile. How do we get it? We're going to get it under the images dot mobile. The one for the desktop, we're going to get it under the images dot tablet, and so forth like that. So here now, the source, it's something that we need to pass there. So here we're going to use this image then dot the mobile one first. So like this, and what is it doing? Let me disable this error message. Let me disable this stuff. This React props. We're not dealing with props here. So this is what is causing error. Where is it? ES links. ES links. Let me disable the rule. So here we're going to have this react whatever stuff. It should be off. I don't want to see this error. That thing we need to install another library before we can start using it. So and we don't need it right yet. So the error is off. So now we have the image for the mobile. So we're going to have the name as the title. So it's the name that I'm going to be using for the title, like that. For the source, I'll be the alt text. Again, we have the tablets, and lastly, we have the one for desktop, like this. So once this thing is saved, you see that on the screen we have the three of them. As you can see, you only have the three of them. But don't forget, we only want to display a particular one, like that. We only want to display a particular one, like that. So we don't just want to show everything. So how do we do this in? We need to apply the style on each one of them. So we need to use Tailwind to talk to each one of them that we want to use particular image on this screen. You can see it's showing everything at once, but we need to give it a class, and we use our media query to hide them based on the screen that we are working on there, like that. So let me apply the class. So this is the one for the mobile. So here, let's start with it. Now by default, we want to see it on the mobile, so we don't need to do anything. It will show, except if we want to change the height. So what we can just do here is the width should be full, because we want to be controlling the height and width from the parent, and the height to be full. So this image by default is going to cover whatever the container that you pass inside it, like that. But once this thing get to a medium screen, then it's going to be hidden. Hidden means display of none. So we don't want to see it when we're on the base screen. So from the medium screen, we don't want to see it. Again, too, for this one of tablets, for the one of tablets, the height too, the width is going to be full, the height is going to be full. But on small screen, we want it to be hidden by default. On medium screen, we want it to be blocked so that it will show. But when you get to large screen too, this one too is going to be hidden back, because we really want to see it on medium screen. So let me expand this thing very well, and let me remove this stuff. So the width will be full, the height will be full. So it's going to be hidden by default, display none. So which means on small screen, you are not going to see it because small screen is not tablet. But once we get to medium screen, it will now come outside, which is going to display as block. But once we get to a bigger screen too, we don't want to see it. This is what we want to see here. So we need to hide it. And that's the same thing we need to do here too, like that. So we're going to have the class name like this, W full, H full. So it's going to be hidden by default. The only time it will come outside is when we get to this screen. So which means each one of them are not going to show until you get to the screen where they are supposed to show on the screen. Can you see now? So the mobile one is now showing. But once you get to a bigger screen, it will switch to another image, and it will keep switching like that depending on the one that we have there. But I don't want to do it like this. So let me reduce this thing and enter the responsive mode so that we can see it better there. So let me move this to one side. Now on small screen, as you can see, it's going to use the mobile one, but the height is really small. So the height that I use here is really small. So let me use maybe 30 something. Yeah, 36 like this. Let me move this into one side so that we can see the two of them at once. Let me move this into one side and move this 1, 2 to this other side. Yeah, I think it's okay like this. So even this 36 is still small. 44 like this. Yeah. So I want the image to fit in its parent. So I can select all of them because I don't want them to go outside of their parent. So what we can do here is to use cover. So let me just select all of them, all this one. So what we can do here is to use cover like this. We should no, it's not going to show like that. So let me remove this stuff. Where is it? So we have this. So we need to use objects. So it is object. What's going on? It's not selecting. Why is this keyboard keep going back to you? So let me select now, back to US. Yeah. So here we need to use objects, then it's going to be cover. And what is object? What you are saying here is that this your image, anytime it's trying to go outside of the container, it's just going to cover it. Not that it will just move outside or it will do like the way it is right now. If you look at it before, you see that the image is now kind of losing its, can you see? It's losing this thing here. So this is not what we want. So anytime the thing is on, make just cover everything like that. And it should, can you see now? So it will not make the image to just be doing anyhow the way it's doing before. Even though it's not going to be one like this when we get to desktop tiling, but for now, I'm just making sure that it's covered up, so which is going to display nice on mobile based on the image that we want. And once we move them to side by side, you see that everything are going to display correctly the way it's supposed to be. So this is what we have here, and I can see the images here. There is a border radius around them. So here I'm going to apply border radius. So to apply border radius in Tailwind, we have rounded. So rounded is border radius. Then you can specify the type of the radius you want. So I'm going to use medium, which is going to be something around that, yeah, this 6 pixels, or let me use XL like this, which is this 12 pixels. And once this thing is saved now, our image should kind of have this border radius around it. But now it's showing this BG red, which I don't need. So let me just remove it so that we can see the stuff like this. But it's too much. So it's too much. Let me use medium that I have there before, like that. And let me remove this red stuff because it's showing at the back. Again, to this image container, we don't need it. What we just need is relative, because we need to position this thing later on as absolute. We need to position this one as absolute later on. So that's why the container here is there. So we have the images, and after the images, we're going to have the button, that cat button. But this one is going to position absolutely inside its box there. So I'm going to have a div here, and this one is going to be the, let me call it action like this. So this action, this one now is one that is going to either hold this or this, based on whether you've already clicked on this button or not. And it needs to be positioned as absolute so that you can place it anywhere you need it. So for example here, it's going to be the class like this, so which is going to be what is that? So we want this thing to be absolute like this. And since it's absolute, what it's going to do is to position it absolute. Then inside its parent, we can now use it to calculate offset. So we can use the bottom of the parent, or what we can do here is to do top like this. I want to specify my own value. Or Tailwind actually have some of this value, but I want to specify my own, which is going to be top. So from its parent, it's going to be top like this, and from the left is going to be 1/2. 1/2 means 50%. So that's what it's going to generate. And again, we can translate the stuff back on the X, and it's going to return the stuff back to the center. Because when you just move this thing to the left, to 50% from the left, what you are moving is the left of the action. So this is the action here. So let me give it a background color so that you can see what is going on. BG red 500 like this. So we should have this it here. Can you see? So the box, we're only moving it left to the center. It's not the box that is at the center. So in order for us to return it to the center, we need to translate it on the X back by negative. So this means negative. This, we have this positive left, and again we now have this negative translate. So what this thing will do is that it will translate the stuff by minus 50%. Forget about what nonsense that Tailwind is generating behind the scene. But what it's just doing here is that it's going to apply this transform property, and it will use this value of minus 50. So this one is going to 50, this one is going to minus 50. Both of them will meet at the center, and it will turn to 0. And that's why, can you see now, the action now is going to place at the center. So this 90% that I use here is just a random value that I use just to see whether that thing is there or not. But later on, once we put the action that will be there, then that one is going to come back later on. But for now, I will just have this. I can even put some padding here of 1 rem so that we see it. But this padding is too much. So let me just put padding of 1 like this for now, and it's going to be there. But this is going to be the action box later on, which is going to be this add to cart or this quantity box that we're going to generate in the next class there like that. But for now, we need to finish all these simple ones. So now we have the image, and I can see, is this image not too small? So oh yeah, let me leave it like that. So what else do we need to do? Let's go to tablet. So on tablet, as you can see, this thing is displaying 1 1 there, but we don't want it like that. You can see on B screen it is 3, but on tablet I want it to be 2 2 per line. Why is it not 2 2? Is because in this container, as you can see, we display it as grid. So, and it's just going to be putting them on top of each other. But we want to talk to this thing that on medium screen, we want it to arrange them 2 2. So the column should be 2 2 per row. And how do we do it here? So you can use this code and you mention whatever grid code like this. So you mention the column you want. So grid code 2 here means it's going to generate this grid template column repeat 2, and it's going to make sure that this thing is maximized there. So save it now, and as you can see on the small on this tablet, it's going to use 2 2. On small screen 1 1. On tablet, it's going to use 2 2, and as you can see that the image is coming into shape now that we put it here. Now we have 2 2. But now when we go to this screen, which is this 1024, as you can see, to me it looks like well, I can leave it like this. But once we get to a bigger screen, which is that 1000 whatever stuff, yeah, it's not looking nice, so it should be 3 3. So here I will be mentioning XL like this, and this one is going to be grid col 3 like this, because on the design it is 3 3 on the base screen like that. So going back to the UI, save the stuff, and as you can see, it's going to be 3 3 per line. So on small screen we have 1 1. On tablet and this desktop is going to be this. But once we get to a larger screen, then it's going to be 3 3. But I think it's not looking nice on this 1002 whatever stuff. So let me change it to large. I think it should be that on large screen too. Yeah. So on large screen, we want it to be this. So 1024, it should be 3 3. On B screen too, it should be 3 3, but we have space on the edge of the box. And now we have the product item, but we are not done with it. We're going to continue from there in the next class, because we need to add this stuff here. As you can see, anytime the product is added to the cart, this line is supposed to be around the image. So the line is supposed to be around the image, and that's the reason why you see that I put all this image in a container. So I put all the image in their own container, so that I don't need to keep doing it again and again. And this is what we want to do here. There's going to be border app red like this. But this thing will only show the border when the border is even small like this. So let me make it 2 pixels, border 2 like this. So save it like that. Can you see? So this border is going to show anytime, and the border radius that I actually applied there is not showing. Why is it not showing? Because the container is going. So what I can do is to remove that rounded on each one of them and apply it on the container, and the container will not allow the image to go outside of. So it should be on the container, because that stuff too should have this thing. So select the other one, remove this thing, save, and now as you can see, it's going to have this edge. Let me go to small screen so that we can see it better. But the image is trying to go outside of it. So what we can do is to use overflow hidden. So how do you use overflow hidden here? Just call overflow, then followed by the hidden, and it's going to apply the same thing here. So now anything that is trying to go, as you can see the edge now, it has covered it. But we don't want this line to come outside. The only time the line will come outside is when you've already added the item to the cart. So that's when the line will come outside. So which means we need to condition this style here. So the style that is going to apply the border, it's going to be conditioned based on whether that thing is there. So how do you condition all this in? You're going to see in the next class. But for now, let me prepare the stuff down by converting this into something we can populate later on. So for now, what we'll just be changing is the border color. So by default, the border is going to be transparent like that. So, and here I'm going to put the condition at the top here. So I'll just call it this show border like this. It's just going to be false. So anytime it is true, the border will show. If it's not true, it's not show, and this is where we are going to check it. So show border if there is show border here, what do we want to do? We want to apply this style. But if there is no show border, what do we want to do? What we want to do is that the border should just be transparent. So border transparent. So instead of it to use border color, it's going to use border to be transparent. As you can see, the color of the border is be transparent like that instead of using that red. So save it, go back to the screen, and like this, you see that the color is not showing. But anytime this property is true, which is going to be later on, because we need to connect it to the store that we're going to be creating for the cart. But for now, this is what we just have. So if I change it to true, you see that the line is going to come outside. We don't need to do anything again here. But the time the line will come outside is when it has been added to the cart. So it's not depending on this state. So this thing will be changing later on. Will either be true or false. And when it is true, the line will show. When it is not true, then the line doesn't show. Because based on the design we have it. The only time the line is showing is when the product has been added to the cart. But if not have been added, it's not there. As you can see, it will only have this pure stuff that is there like that. So it's only when it have this stuff that it will always come outside. As you can see, any of the product that you have inside the cart must have this thing. So you have 1, 2, 3. That's why you see them 1, 2, 3, and it match. So this one is vanilla. As you can see, the vanilla is there, and again to the other one. So that's how this thing works. And in the next class now, we're going to work on this action button. And once we are done with the action button, we move into the cart and design all these items that we have in our cart here. And once we are done with the cart, the next thing we are going to work on is the modal. So this is the modal when it is on the deck on mobile, and this is how it looks like when it is on the desktop. And once we are done with the modal, we now connect everything together by start creating our state, creating our store or the context that is going to be passing out all the data that we want to use in our application. But for today, we have our layout and we have our products that you are going to be working with later on. And this thing now, it's kind of depending on your data. If the data change, you see that everything on the screen are going to get updated. You don't need to change anything in code. The only thing we just change is the data because it's depending on this data. And once the data change, then everything is going to change here too. Yeah, instead of the price to be this 6,000, so it's going to be 6,010 naira like this. And once it's saved, as you can see, the price has been updated. You don't need to touch the code because it's depending on the data here. And once anything that is depending on change, and once the thing is saved, we are going to receive the data here like that. So now we have this item which looks nice. This is what we have on the mobile. This is going to look like on the mobile because everything are going to be stacked on top of each other. Because once we go to the tablet, it's going to be 2 2 on this screen, and it's going to be 3 3 and so forth like that. But it's only stop at 3 because our screen will never go past 1,200 because we make sure that the layout has been set up in that way that everything will not go more than what this is supposed to be. So we have the Africana food, we have the cards by this side that we'll be working on in the next class after this action button there. So yeah, this is where I'll be stopping for today. I'm going to stop recording now, and I will upload the stuff on the channel and you can go over it anytime you want. So that's going to be all. Thank you. We'll stop recording.
So okay now.